Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kathleen Kuo, and I am a program manager with Nevada Humanities, our state's council partner of the National Endowment for the Humanities. Nevada Humanities is also home to the Nevada Center for the Book, which is the state affiliate of the Center for the Book housed at the Library of Congress. The Nevada Center for the Book is dedicated to promoting literature and literacy throughout the Silver State. Every year, centers from the book from around the nation participate in an initiative called Great Reads from Great Places, which is a list of books that represent the literary heritage of the 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Guam, American Samoa, and the Northern Marianas. And this is distributed by the Library of Congress's Center for the Book during the annual National Book Festival in Washington, D.C. So during today's program, we are going to get to meet our featured 2025 YA author from Nevada, Jen Nails, learn more about her and her work and the importance of libraries in her life. Jen Nails is a librarian with the Las Vegas Clark County Library District. She loves football, yoga, writing, and spending time with her friends and family. Her podcast, Revisions: How Our Favorite Books Change Us, features conversations about pivotal books that shape young readers into their grown-up selves. And joining her in conversation will be fellow librarian Mimi Nails, who is the author of The Clockwork Curse and The Piano Ghost. When she's not writing spooky stories, Mimi is a librarian and she lives in Las Vegas with her husband and two cats. So Jen and Mimi, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Thank you.
All right. Excuse the cats. They're having a little bit of a tiff. Um,
Mine will also have a tiff. Maybe mine will have a tiff with yours.
no. Okay, so let's start off with tell us a little bit about your book and how it came to be. What was your writing journey like?
Yes. Thank you, Mimi. So, 100 Spaghetti Strings is my novel that really reflects my growing up Italian. I'll start with that. I think that once I started making the same recipes that my dad would make for me and my family when I was growing up, once I started kind of carrying on that tradition when I was probably like in my early 30s, I really started to appreciate and really kind of start to see, although 30s to me right now seems really young, but I think at that time I really started to begin understanding how important it was going to be for me to carry on these same traditions for my kids. And so I think if I look back on when I started writing and making notes for 100 Spaghetti Strings, it was probably like several years after that realization sunk in for me, the realization that I wanted to carry on these traditions. So years passed, and then I remember I started this document, like a Word document, and um, I called it my home address growing up with, which was 1100 South 6th, and I called it 1100 South 6th Memories. And I just started writing like every single thing that I remembered from growing up in that house. And as I like continued filling out this document and writing down all those memories, I realized like how many of them centered around like big family meals and like watching my dad's hands kneading the dough. And being Italian was always something that we were, very proud of. And we would like brag about our homemade pasta. And, friends would come over and be like, oh my gosh, your dad made this spaghetti. And it was like a big deal, in my world as a child. It was something that I felt like excited about and something that I wanted to share with my friends. And as I grew older, with my own young family at the time. So that's kind of how the seeds for the story began, was from my own memories of having Italian meals and then making those same Italian meals for my kids. So that's like um, the beginning answer to that question. But then there's like a lot more to it. Did I answer all of
Yeah.
it, Mimi? Sort
No,
of. Okay.
that's good. It's actually you talking about I was talking about growing up in an Italian family and traditions. My grandmother is Italian, and
Ah.
in your book, you actually wrote in 100 Spaghetti Strings, you wrote about gnocchi and Christmas, and my family does the same thing. I started
Yes.
crying
Oh,
because I miss my grandmother so much, and she's the only person that actually made them from scratch. I can't replicate
Mimi.
that.
Oh my gosh. Did she make it with mashed potatoes? Can I ask?
I actually took the
It's
leftover like from Thanksgiving mashed potatoes and then froze
yeah.
them.
That is so brilliant. That is so brilliant because mashed potatoes freeze really well,
Hmm.
right? It's like this big rock. And
Yeah,
then you just defrost and then bam, there you go.
yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. So you've got you're a little Italian in there.
Yeah, my mom's side.
Oh, Mimi and I have like the same look. Like we're the same, kind of the same person. Although she has super cool cat eye glasses and we have like the purple hair. Anyway, we got it going on and we're both Italian. This is great news for everybody.
So do you still make pasta?
Hmm. I do, yes. Um, I think it's about, God, it's like going on 20 years since I started experimenting with making pasta. And every time I make the dough, I think about my dad. I think about my one of my aunts who I was very close to, who has since passed away and who I miss very much. I think about her, and then I think about all the relatives that I never met who also made pasta. And I think about um I always go back to like being 10 years old or 8 years old and waking up on Sunday mornings. I always tell this story because it's like so like burned in my memory, but every Sunday morning waking up to the smell of my mom's sauce. We called it sauce. We didn't call it gravy. Like I know a lot of Italian families call it gravy. We just called it sauce. Um, Waking up to the smell of fresh tomato sauce, like on the stove cooking, and the sound of the NFL theme song. And then going into the kitchen and like my dad's hands kneading the dough and watching the dough miraculously going from like this kind of like sandbox looking mess of like, like kind of flaky pebbles into this like actual concrete chunk of dough. And just thinking like what a miracle that was and thinking how strong my dad's hands looked. And so every time I make pasta, which I still do, I think about all those things.
So, okay, what came first? You talked about like writing the like the memories of living in on South Street. Um, but how did that come become 100 Spaghetti Strings? Did being in the library and working with middle grade books kind of help with that, or like how which came first?
Yes. Okay. So I knew that after I wrote down all those notes, and I think it was probably like I mean like I'm such a sucker for punishment because like whenever I writing is like a slow, painful burn. And so I think I probably wrote those notes over a year. So I have like a chunk of material that was all just like me remembering things on paper. And um, I think when I went back to it and realized like, oh my God, there's like so much cooking in these memories. There's so many meals in these memories. There's so many relationship um there's so much focus on the different relationships in my family within all these memories. And so I knew I wanted to write, or I discovered through these notes that I wanted to write a novel about a chef character, like a little chef. Um, and so I set out to do that. And then like for me, uh, I think I'm decent at make creating a character. I love doing that. I think where I can grow is plot. Plot, 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 plot. Okay. Because nobody wants to read just like I mean, no, this is not true of every author, but I think about my own writing, I know I have my strengths, but I think, I can only get so far with like diary entries and like, my favorite recipes. Something has to happen in the freaking story, for people to care. So I think I took quite a while figuring out, well, what's the plot? What does this fifth grade chef do and why? And what's her backstory and all of those things? And what does she want? And um, in my own life, around this very time that I was starting to write this novel, I was struggling in lots of different ways. And the main one was that I was getting divorced. And so the theme of um, how do you want your family to be versus how really is your family in reality, like the conflict between those two things, I think really informed the plot. So the book essentially is about Steffi, who's Italian and she's a chef and she's in fifth grade, and her family is not how she wants it to be. Her father is estranged. Her mother has a traumatic brain injury. She's being raised by her aunt. And the novel is like her getting this idea where she's like, well, I'm just going to bring everybody together by cooking them their favorite recipes. And this seemed to me like another struggle I have in my own writing is like creating a plot that feels like a child would actually do these things. As a grown up, and maybe you can agree, Mimi, as a fellow writer, like sometimes I'll work on a project and then I'm like, wait, this is really about the mom. Like kids, you know what I mean? Because I'm a mom, but I'm like, well, kids don't really care so much about like what the mom is going through. So I feel like I settled on something that felt um decently kid friendly. Like a 11-year-old might think that like, well, just cook everybody their favorite foods. Like, how can you resist a plate of homemade gnocchi? How could that not bring everybody back together? Um, so that's essentially how I came upon the plot. It was because I felt like my own family was like falling apart. And so I really, I was able to kind of take all the emotions that I was having as an adult and see if I can kind of transport those feelings down to an 11-year-old. And so that's where like the plot came from.
And honestly, it's a very 11-year-old way of thinking, like, oh yeah, they're not going to be around. What if I cook everybody something and then they'll show up for that. I would show
Yeah.
up for that.
Thank
As a
you.
grown up, I'd show up for that for sure.
Me too. Me too. Yeah.
Like somebody's gonna make me gnocchi from scratch. Yes, please. Thank
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Um, so did you actually make
Mhm.
all of the recipes that are featured in the book?
I did. Um,
Mhm.
the
Go ahead.
candy was hard. I think there's candy in the book, like
Yes,
sesame.
the
It,
Korean sesame candy.
yeah, some of them were major fails, and then I never went back and like tried it again. Um, the sweet potato pie, insanely amazing. The candy, no. The consistency was bad. But I was like, I gotta roll up my sleeves and do this because it didn't feel right to just like be like, hopefully this is good, I think the candy is good with a skilled set of hands and creativity, but I would have to go back and do it again. And then, the recipes like the gnocchi, the spaghetti, um, can't remember if there's lasagna in there, but I mean, I make all of those decently regularly. My go-to is gnocchi because it's easy. It's the easiest one because the mashed potatoes make the dough very like malleable right away. Whereas if you just do straight up like pasta dough without the mashed potatoes, it can be very stiff. and you have to knead it forever and ever. But yeah, I I did make the recipes. Yeah, not all successful.
So did you have to research some of them? Like,
I did, yes. The character, the Korean character that is Steffi's aunt's boyfriend, I wanted to put in some, not I wanted to as much as possible in a book about an Italian kid who cooks Italian food. I wanted to like put in other cultural representation to the best of my ability to the extent where it didn't feel over the top contrived and kind of forced. So I did have to research those. I don't know if I forgot if there's a kimchi recipe in there. I can't remember. The book
I,
came out in 2017. I don't think there is. I don't think there is
I
because
don't
I
think
don't,
there was. Is that
yeah,
one that you wanted to
I
include?
don't, um, maybe I considered it, but I'm certain there isn't because I didn't make that. I don't remember making that. Um, so yes, I did have to research some of them. The yam pecan pie I had to look into, because I had never made that. I'd made pecan pie, but not with the yams. So yeah, I had to research some of them.
And did you happen to do all that at the library? No, I'm just kidding.
Easy
I
transition, easy transition. Um, you know what? So I am thinking back. When I finished the manuscript, I had started at a new school because I moved to Las Vegas from Brooklyn, like during the time that the book was acquired, and then I was doing like the final edits came when I mo had moved back to Las Vegas. So um, when I was finishing the final edits, I started at a new school and I was the school librarian and um. Yeah, oh my gosh, I don't remember. I think I had done most of the research by the time I got here. But libraries are always like in the backdrop of everything I do. So like, let's go. Yeah, all the way.
Same. I actually have a scene in one of mine where I showed it to somebody at work and they're like, "You really hate us," and I was like, "No."
Actually.
So you do work in the library now. What kind of drew you to being a librarian, and how does it help with the writing or?
Oh my gosh. Well, as you know, that's a question that you and I could talk about for like 5 hours.
Okay,
Um,
short version.
um, so, I was thinking about this question the last couple of days since you shared the questions with me. Thank you.
Welcome.
And, I feel like a part of why I love books really has a lot to do with growing up um, the kid of an English teacher. And so I've heard lots of friends and others say that, growing up with somebody that's in the world of education as your parent really kind of indoctrinates you into books and into appreciating them. And so I feel like here's what it was. I wasn't the biggest reader in my family. My sister was, and my mom was. And I think for quite a while when I was growing up, I felt like they were in this cool kids club. And I mean, I made all of that up, of course, but I really felt like they were smarter, quicker, caught on to things more like intuitively than I ever did. I was always wanting to have good grades, just like my sister. And it always seemed like she just rolled up and got an A in everything. And it was just things just came a little bit easier to her academically. And I had to like work really, really hard to get like B's and A's and C's. And so, I always felt like I was playing catch up with my mom and my sister. And I think it's not surprising to me that I then became an English teacher and then a school librarian. In addition to lots of other things I did along the way. I did quite a while when I moved to New York, I was writing, but I was also performing improvisation, which I absolutely loved. And I think that played a large part into my writing because I feel like improv is writing. You're like saying things off the top of your head. And then when you go to write, you're writing things kind of off the top of your head. So I feel like each thing sort of feeds into the other. Um, and I feel the same about improvisation as I do about teaching as well, because I feel like my work as a teacher feeds into my work as a writer in many, many ways that I could go into. But the question is about being a librarian. I think I finally joined the Cool Kids Club, Mimi. That's what happened, right? Mimi just gave me applause because I think I always wanted to be more well-read. I always wanted to be more patient. I think when I was a kid, I did gymnastics and dance and I was always moving. I was like the kid that's like doing cartwheels all over the house and doing a handstand. Like I would do a handstand, like I would do a handstand against the couch and then do like a back bend over the couch all the time, all the time. There's like pictures of me like like in mid cartwheel. So I think I saw reading as this like thing you just sit. And I couldn't do that yet because I didn't understand the value of it yet. But I knew it was the cool kids club and I knew I wasn't in it yet. And so becoming a librarian, like I said, feels like a triumph because I made it. I'm in.
That's
So
awesome.
it is. It is.
My sister was the one that was doing the cartwheels. My dad actually used to teach gymnastics. So
That
yeah.
is so cool. Was he a gymnast? Oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, I love this so much. Your father was a gymnast. I don't know. I've like never, I love that.
Nice.
Did you and your sister do gymnastics?
I did gymnastics and dance. I took dance longer. I just couldn't get it. I was the one that just wanted to sit on my butt and read.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's wonderful. Did he do gymnastics from when he was like a child and then grow up and compete?
He did. He actually almost went to the Olympics, but then his family moved to America. So
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Wow. Did he join a gym when he moved to America?
Yes. After I
Okay.
think after several years, I mean, he met my mom and there was other stuff, and
Yeah.
he coaches
Yeah.
now. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's fascinating. Oh my gosh. That is so cool.
another thing where we connect.
I know. I love this for so many reasons.
Um, so you're now a part of the Cool Kids Club.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Likewise. Yes. Thanks.
So what books do you read now? Like what do you find yourself
Mm,
constantly going back to
yeah.
that will actually keep
Okay.
you in the chair?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I'm sure it's no surprise to you, but I love middle grade. That's my favorite. And I was just talking to a few colleagues at Spring Valley Library um within the last couple of weeks because I was showing them which books I was checking out, and they're both middle grade. And one, oh my gosh, I can't remember the exact title, but it's a graphic novel about the title is like Kathy the Cat Sitter or something like
Oh,
that.
Katie the cat
Do you
sitter.
know Katie the Cat Sitter? Thank you. Thank you. Mwah, mwah. We are so cool. And so I was like, and I was explaining why I like middle grade, especially right now. I was like, I need to read Katie the Cat Sitter right now. I really need to. I said, because it's not like I want to escape reality right now. And then I was like holding up Katie the Cat Sitter, and I was like, because this is reality. This is reality. There are 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds who start their cat sitting business. That's part of reality. I want to be in that reality right now. I want to be in the reality where, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all these cute kitties? How do I feed them? what can I, how can I start this business and get this off the ground? That's the reality that I want to be in. I'm not escaping. I'm just remembering that even though the big picture in lots of ways is bleak, um, I want to remember that like there are also little struggles that are that little people are um challenged with, and I want to go to that world, and I want to feel redeemed by those small little day-to-day struggles, and then come out the other side of the story feeling like, okay, there's still hope. That's what I'm looking for. And that's why I love middle grade. I just finished, speaking of, I just finished, you probably know this novel. Her name is Andrea Beatrice Orengo, and she wrote Evilise Explains It All for You. And then her next one is It's All or Nothing Val. And It's All or Nothing Val is about Valentina, who's a fencer, but she's gotten into an accident and sh her left leg is damaged, and so she's kind of relearning how to fence and relearning who she is if she can't be a fencing champion anymore. So again, I need these kinds of struggles to go through along with the character, because um, it's hard to it's hard to process anything major right now for me. I'm talking politically mostly, and so I'm just like, give me a good middle grade right now, and I can do anything. That's what I want. That's what I want. Like I want to be reminded, like, even though the whole big picture is so heavy and feels so um um just doubtful, up in the air, uncertainty everywhere, question mark, these little struggles, like I can do these and I can, find my footing again. So that's what I gravitate to.
Because they're hopeful. They are kind of like a idea. Middle grade a lot is about finding who you are, which kind of brings me back to cooking. Because
Yay!
the last couple of books, including yours that I've read recently, have all involved middle graders who discover their identity kind of through cooking. So yeah, and I was wondering, is that like, do you think that that is something that is a really good, like, what makes that a really good theme for middle grade, like, and for like that idea of finding yourself?
Oh, yeah. I love that question. I feel like getting familiar with the kitchen and finding confidence through making food that tastes good is such a like is such a um it feels so like doable for kids. You know, it feels like there's very kind of obvious trial and error. It's like, oh, I didn't turn the heat up enough, or oh, I forgot to mix that good enough. It's like it's not I mean, unless you're talking very intricately about like seasoning and doing things to taste, which is maybe subtle, but like I'm talking about like, oh, I put 2 cups instead of 3 cups. Darn, I'll do it better next time. I feel like the learning is like kind of transparent, and the growth, um like the what's that called, like the like you can grow pretty quickly in confidence in the kitchen. And so I feel like maybe many kids have experienced what I'm talking about when they're like, I'm going to try making pancakes, and like the first time it's a disaster. And then the third time it's like, wait, these are really good. So, um, I remember, making pancakes when I was 8. And I remember like kind of messing around in the kitchen a little bit when I was in fifth and sixth grade. So I feel like it is a common experience for middle grade, like you're saying. And so maybe it's because, like you can see right before your very eyes, you can taste, oh, that was really n not so, the texture is really weird. Next time I'm going to add more, I don't know, potatoes. It's it's a straightforward way to grow and to learn and to get confidence, I think.
I never thought about it like that, but you're right. Although I am 43 and I still can't make pancakes.
Thank you so much for admitting that. That's big. That's like on the highlight that we're gonna put on Instagram. And then like close up on Mimi and she's like getting emotional. Yeah.
Uh, so, let me think.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So, is that kind of why you chose, like, because you were talking about, the importance of cooking and like coming up? Is that why you chose Everything on a Waffle by Polly Horvath as Stephanie's favorite story?
Oh, yeah, I love Polly Horvath. I love her books. I love um her everything's quirky and a little bit off, but it's still realistic fiction. And I don't know how she pulls it off, but I think she's an absolute genius. And Everything on a Waffle was the first book of hers that I read. And since then, I'll read anything that she writes. I may have, I don't think I've read everything that she's written, but I've come close to it. Um, I loved that the restaurant in that book, in that novel, is kind of the core. Like everything comes back to the restaurant and everything is served with a waffle. I forget how it is, if it's on a waffle or just like on the side, but I love the idea and the metaphor of like the waffle itself is like the core of the novel. And then each scene or chapter returns back to the waffle place. And I love that there are recipes in that novel, and lots of novels have recipes, and I always do enjoy a novel that has food in it. Um, and so it just like was obvious to me. Like, oh yeah, of course she loves Everything on a Waffle. I love Everything on a Waffle. Who doesn't love to read about like syrup dripping off the, flaky, yummy, you know, doughy or not doughy, but like cakey on the inside and crisp on the outside. Who doesn't want to read about a delicious waffle? I want to read about a delicious waffle. So, yeah, it made sense because yeah, I love that book.
So, speaking of recipes,
Hmm.
one of my favorite parts was when Aunt Gina made a recipe for Stephanie in the book.
Yes.
Um, what would your recipe look like if somebody was to make a recipe for you?
Oh, that's so cute. Um, like Jen is like one part loud. You mean like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I would say Jen is 3 cups of humor, 1 tablespoon naivete. Because a lot of times I find myself being like, really? And then the other person's like, no, I'm fucking kidding. You know? Anyway, I said the F-bomb. I didn't mean to.
No, it's
Um,
fine.
I did. I did. I guess I did mean to. Um, okay, so 3 cups humor, 1 tablespoon naivete, um, a a dash of a dash of um compassion, hopefully more than a dash. Um,
Definitely more than a dash.
um,
Definitely.
and and um, uh, 5 cups of um, 5 cups of how do I say it? Of hopefulness. I'm trying to think of a better word. Yeah, that would be that would be the recipe for gin
That's
off the top of
awesome.
my head. Do you have one for you? It was a
I
hard.
honestly was thinking about this when I asked you when I
Oh, good. I want to know
um
yours.
probably 3 cups of enthusiasm,
Yeah.
a tablespoon of passion, uh 2 teaspoons of procrastination.
Uh-huh. Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um, add in a cat or two.
Oh, yes, yes. A lot of fur, 3 quarts of fuzz.
Mix well with coffee and
Yes.
uh I like your hope, so I'm stealing it. So sprinkle with hope.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna bring your enthusiasm. Yeah, for sure.
Now we've got a blended recipe.
Yes, 2 cups Mimi. Mix, stir well, serve while warm.
Yes, definitely serve warm because I hate cold temperatures.
Likewise,
That's why we live in the desert.
that's why we live in the desert.
So let me just check. Okay, we've still
Yes.
got about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
Remember,
so
just cut me off mid-sentence.
oh, I would never.
Oh, that's fine. I would
Um,
add like 1/3 cup tough skin over here. Maybe more than 1/3 cup.
I wish I had that.
It'll come, my young friend.
Uh, so kind of going
Yes.
back to libraries because
Perfect.
we're
I
going to
love
talk about
that.
the Cool Kids Club.
Yes. Yes.
Um, so you went from being an English teacher to becoming a librarian. How did that kind of like, what was that evolution like?
Well, what was really cool, I mean, it's a much longer answer, but there was a really cool pivotal moment where when I moved back to Las Vegas, this is now 10 years ago. I started in a new school, like I was saying, when I was finishing the final edits for 100 Spaghetti Strings. And I started in a new school as an English teacher. And I quickly became friends with the school librarian, who I'm still friends with, who's absolutely lovely. And she and I had this like pivotal talk this one day that first year. And she's like, I really think I want to transition back to teaching English. And I was like, that's so interesting because I would really love to transition into being a school librarian. And it was like magic. And it took all of like 1 5-minute conversation with the administration. And they were like, yeah, next year, let's do this.
Wow.
So she took on teaching high school English, and then I became a school librarian. It was like a magical, it was dreamy.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
um, there's like all the years that came before that 5-minute talk, but that's just a cool um, a cool like turn it was a cool turning point for me where, those kind of rare moments where you're like, oh, life, I said what I wanted and then life did it, or however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I have to apply and I applied to 20 places and like I hope one of them, you know what I mean? And I've been there too, but for whatever reason, this just like locked right in. And so that was about 10 years ago. And it's now been 2.5 years, almost 3 years since I've been working for the public library system. So that was a turning point. Yeah,
That's an awesome like manifestation of like what you want. That's awesome.
yeah, it was very, yeah, definitely. Like it was like complete initiation to Cool Kids Club. Like it was like, oh my God, you're ready. She's finally ready.
Here.
I've been sprung. Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about what you're currently working on and what you're kind of,
Sure. Yes. So, um, a little over a year ago, I started working on a podcast, and Kathleen mentioned it at the beginning of our conversation. And I'm just about to release season 3 of the podcast, and it's been so much fun. I finally found a subject and a theme for a podcast. I had been wanting to make a podcast for like 10 years. And I just aside from like making the time to do it, which is a huge time commitment, I think I just like hadn't figured out what I would say. And, I like listening to podcasts. I'm not listening to podcasts like every day. There are like certain ones that I really, really love to listen to. And so I knew the kind of vibe that I wanted to strike with it. And so a little over a year ago, I was like, it's going to be about books. And then I realized as I, thought and made notes, I realized like one of my very favorite conversations that I would have with students in the school library was about like, you know, everybody comes to reading at a different time in their life. And I would always talk about how I wasn't a big reader when I was in fourth grade, like they are, for example. But um, we would talk about how like there's got to be like at least one book or a couple books
Yep.
that are going to turn you on to reading, that are just going to like turn the lights on. And I'm talking about the kind of book where you don't remember that you're holding it in your hands. Um, like the book Scythe by Schusterman. Like with books like that for me, even
Mhm.
though I'm not a big like fantasy person or any Ramona book from when I was younger, Beverly Cleary, like that kind of book where you are so enraptured in the writing and the story. You're like pulled out of your life and you go into this story, that kind of book. And so that was one of my favorite conversations that I would have with students. And some of them had already discovered that book, some of them hadn't, but we would talk about it a lot. And so I decided that I want to talk to people about what was that book or those books for them. And the conversations have been so fun and surprising. And I feel like through the process of making this podcast and talking about books in this way, it's opened me up to reading different kinds of books that I would never read because in order to prepare for the podcast, the person that I'm going to interview tells me which book it is that they would like to discuss, that they remember being a pivotal book. And then I read that book. And I would say like 50% of the time, I haven't read this book yet. So I've read, so many new books. I read Philip Roth, who I think I'd read one of his books before. I read Portnoy's Complaint by Philip Roth, which I'm like, I would never have come to that book if it weren't for the podcast. I read Secret Garden, which I embarrassingly had never read. A couple of other classics. Anyway, so what I find to be enormously cool about this podcast is that I love kind of getting to know in a kind of layered way this person that I'm about to interview through this book that was pivotal for them. Like, especially if I don't really know them that well. And it's so fun to kind of decode in my mind as I'm reading this book, like, I wonder why they liked this book. Like, I wonder what they got out of this. I wonder if they noticed that part that I just noticed. So it's been so much fun. I think I've become a better speaker and listener. And I'm trying to not say as much because it's like astonishing. So that is what I have been working on. And I'll just I just said I will finish this answer by saying another part of this podcast that has been so much fun for me and so much good hard work is that at the very beginning of each episode, and I hope that people will consider listening because it's really fun and the people I interview are amazing. At the beginning of each episode, I tell a personal story that will then relate to a theme that will occur in the conversation that the listener is about to hear that I have with the guest. So I work really hard on crafting those personal stories. And so that has become like my writing project is this podcast. It's not just these interviews, it's really crafting the episode where it feels like a story. And I'm really excited about it. And thank you for asking.
Oh no, I actually really like your podcast.
Thank you.
But I'm gonna I know you've answered this in the podcast, but what is your
Yes.
pivotal book?
Yes. Well, one of my pivotal books is Ramona the Brave by Beverly Cleary. I found it when I was in third grade. It was the first book where I understood why somebody would sit and read. I connected with Ramona right away. She has a really smart older sister who's very sensible, who reads a lot, while Ramona is like running around and falling and getting bruises on her knees and worrying. Little Ramona is always like kind of anxious about something. And I just fell in love with Ramona. And because I liked Ramona, I think it gives you confidence when you, as we all know, as readers and book lovers, when you see a character going through a struggle in a story and you recognize parts of yourself in that character and you feel like an affinity for that character and you feel a connection to them. And I think feeling connected to something gives you like the strength to get through stuff. So Ramona was by far one of a very short list of books that I fell in love with as a young reader. What was yours?
Emily of New Moon.
You told me this. Yes, you told me this, and I hadn't read it then, and I still haven't read
It's
it.
okay. It's the same author who did Anne of Green Gables, and
Yes, yes, we had this exact conversation.
yeah, we did. I think
Exactly. We did. And of course I read Anne of Green Gables, but yeah, I didn't
Emily is
yeah.
spookier. That's why I like it.
Okay. Yes, you
Yeah.
would. Yes.
Yeah, spooky vibes all the time. All right, I'm gonna wrap up with the old chess. Two more questions. The old
Mhm.
chestnut. Do you have any advice for young writers?
Oh my gosh. I want young writers to give me advice. That's my advice for them. Um, do I have any advice for young writers? I think that it's so important to look at your writing life as a day-to-day situation. I am not a writer that sits down and writes every day for a half an hour. I'm not a writer that sits down and writes 2,000 words every day. I'm a writer who I feel like I could finish that sentence in so many different ways. And the way I'm going to finish that sentence today is that um, I'm a writer who loves to labor with a longer project. I don't know why this is. I love surprising myself. I love being surprised by this idea that, maybe I had like 2 years ago and I'm still kind of languishing alongside it. Um, and I say day to day because I think for me, if I'm putting too much emphasis and too much pressure on myself for like the big goal, then I kind of lose sight of the little surprises along the way. And, 100 Spaghetti Strings maybe started out as like a memoir idea. I don't know that I consciously sat down and wrote those 1100 South Six memories because I wanted to write a memoir, but I knew that they were leading me somewhere. And I think if I had said, like, I'm writing a memoir and it's going to be my memories, maybe I wouldn't have come up with 100 Spaghetti Strings about this character that's not me, very much based on me, but not me. So as I get older and I continue writing and doing creative things like making a podcast, I realize how, like, when I say day to day, I mean like, and people say this and I hear it and I think I understand it more now. Like I'm really writing for me because I feel compelled to write. I'm my only reader. I'm my only audience. And I like that. Like I like following through for myself. I like showing up for myself. And that just means day to day. And the day to day, today, today brings you to the goals. Maybe they're not exactly the ones that you like envisioned in the big picture, but as long, for all the young writers who are listening and watching, as long as you are following through to yourself and showing up for yourself, you're going to get to the goals and they'll change and they'll surprise you. And that's like the beauty of making art and the beauty of letting in what's going on in your life. Like when I was getting divorced, letting in what's going on in your life, even if it's painful, letting it affect your art. And if you're too focused on this thing that you want to have happen in 2 years, then you're kind of maybe um, working in a tunnel. Um, and that's, maybe not as fulfilling. So,
It
yeah.
kind of goes back to the theme of 100 Spaghetti Strings, where you have this one vision of something, excuse me, and it doesn't always turn out the way you wanted it to, but it's still good.
Yes. I feel like isn't that just life, Mimi?
Yes.
Did we just solve like the, right?
I almost don't want to I almost want to finish there, but I do have one more question.
Okay.
So,
So
what's
good.
one question that you wish you'd get asked in these types of things that you never have been asked?
Oh, oh my God. I feel like you're asking me to think way too many steps, Mimi. Okay, no, I love it. One question I wish I was asked. Um, well, first of all, like I don't often do, like usually I'm the person who's doing what you're doing, you know?
There.
So it's so fun to,
So, what
I,
would you ask yourself?
what do I ask myself? Oh my God, I love this. Um, First of all, it's so like I'm so moved and like so thankful to be in the seat over here. And like it's so fun to talk with you about writing and my novel, Mimi. Thank you. And thank you to Kathleen and Nevada Humanities. Um, I would ask myself, this feels so like I don't know, like I'm like out of body experience. Um, I would ask myself, um, I guess like how do you I mean, and this is a good question and I don't know the answer, but like how do you know in your life, and I guess with relevance to writing, like how do you know what to take with you into the next project and then what to kind of like leave? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is a good question.
You
I
know
don't know
what I
the
mean? And like one of my very best writer friends, um, who passed away sadly, said the coolest thing. She was in a writing critique group with me for like 10 years. And she was like, and she had read this, like I don't remember who said it, but it was something like, each thing that you write is a seed that's going to grow into something else. And like you don't see the seed anymore because you see like the blossom. Um, but I think I have trouble, being like, no, but I need to, I'm going to keep working on this thing, but then it maybe becomes like this, like ball and chain that you're lugging around. So I guess like, can I let go of things? Like, when do you let go of things and start something new,
I
right?
have something for that.
Please tell
Um,
me, is it
the
a
author
pill?
She wrote a book called Writing Magic for Kids. And she said when you get bored of the story, the readers will get bored with the story.
Yeah,
So,
100%. I love that. And it's so simple.
yep.
Thank
Well,
you.
I think that's all the time that we've got. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to be inviting Kathleen back.
Yay. Thank you. That was so fun.
That was.
Jen and Mimi, oh my goodness. My heart just, I feel like the Grinch. My heart grew like, I don't know, 20 sizes while listening to both of you. Thank you so much for just, it was such an insightful, such a lovely conversation. I love listening to you talk about family and books and your life journeys. And I know we could have, just, I'm very jealous of you two getting to talk, all day when you're at
Oh, I
work and you
wish.
get to meet up with one another, but there's always the future. So yeah, libraries have played such an important role in my life, and so I just really appreciate all that you do for your community. They're very lucky to have you. Um,
Oh.
For everyone who's watching, I wanted to remind you that you can find all of our past recorded programs on our YouTube channel for Nevada Humanities. You can also learn more about our programs at nevadahumanities.org, including more about the Nevada Center for the Book and our past and previous featured Great Reads authors. Um, Again, I'm so thankful. Thank you so much for Jen and your wonderful book, 100 Spaghetti Strings. I forgot to say at the top of the hour, but I'm glad that you mentioned it in the very first question, which represented Nevada at this year's 2025 National Book Festival. And it's on our Great Reads from Great Places list at the Library of Congress Center for the Book. And thank you so much, Mimi, for all your really lovely questions and taking the time to, chat with Jen. And just, it was really great. So, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you at another future program.